found something. This is a part two of this, and we were talking about the critical race theory, and for whatever reason, it did not save. So, I'm not going to get into critical race theory anymore, other than you know that I'm against it. It shouldn't be in our schools, so on and so forth. So, this is what I had some people actually also in our questions that were asking me about HR 1. And we talked a little bit about HR 1 some weeks ago. And I just want to go over some things that are in HR 1 that are bad, that will not help us. Before I get started, I'm Walt Blackman and I am running for Congress in Congressional District 1. It's a great, great district in Arizona 1. And it's time that Republicans take that district and that we give the proper type of leadership and governance to the people of Arizona, particularly in the district. And at the White House and between the Congress and the Senate, there's no representation for Republicans and conservatives to stop such things as CRT, HR 1, and just a plethora of other bad pieces of legislation. So, talking about HR 1 a little bit, I'm going to get somewhat in the weeds, but not too much in there. So, you know that HR 1 is the For the People Act of 2019, and it is an election law or election bill that was filed in the House of Representatives at the United States Capitol, and it is basically the liberal majority has moved this terrible piece of legislation through the process, and it is a type of legislation that it's just sweeping in nature. And what we need to do is overturn this type of bad legislation, and we need to make sure that the electoral process is kept safe, and that we're not seeing this type of crap. And I said it, crap. That we see in HR 1. So really quickly, just going to go through some things in HR 1. So there are some tidbits about it. So first of all, in HR 1, it's automatic voter registration to include using many colleges and universities as voter registration agencies and registering those folks 16 and 17 years old. Yes, I said it. HR 1 wants to be able to register 16 to 17-year-olds to vote. Yeah, that's a big problem. That's in HR 1. Number 2, it abolishes voter ID laws and only requires a signature in the polling place to vote. So that means a person can walk into a voting pool and not show an ID because it gets rid of the voter ID. You don't need to have an ID to go vote in HR 1. You can just walk in there and vote. It also allows for online voter registration without protections to verify the eligibility of the voters. So that means a person can just go online, register to vote without an ID, and then go vote. That's what that means. If you don't have problems with that, I don't know what's going on with you. It also allows for same-day registration during early voting and on election day. 15 days of every voting day or calendar year, including the minimum hours of the requirements of the location. So that's something like, they're going to extend it out that much, 15 days. You're going to extend it out that much. That's what they're saying. Okay. It's restricting election officials' efforts to maintain the accuracy of a voter registration list. So that's going to be a consequence of HR 1, the For the People's Act. That's a consequence with that. Okay. They also have an automatic restoration of rights to felons to vote after release from prison. Now, I'll read that again. Automatically restoring the right for felons to vote after they are released from prison. Now, the thing that I don't like about that particular piece of HR 1 is that the person may still owe restitution. So if you serve your time in prison and then you are paroled out, you have and you're still serving a parole, or you still owe restitution to the victims, or so on, or fines, then you should have to pay that before you are able to register to vote. A person should be free of any judicial issues before they're able to vote. And some people, don't like that. I got it. I'm one that says that if a person was in prison, they need to pay their restitution. They need to be off probation and parole in order for them to have their civil rights restored to them to vote. Okay, so they want to take it a step further and do it automatically. Okay, provisional ballots cast outside a voter's precinct must be counted. Yeah, so these votes that are cast outside of the precincts, they're letting them do that. They're letting them cast votes that are outside the precincts. And then congressional redistricting done by an independent redistricting commission, micromanaged by HR 1 provisions. And that's what HR 1 is going to do. They want to micromanage voting, and they want to federalize voting. So if we look deeper into HR 1, there are 30 new federal mandates in this HR 1 bill alone. It requires all states to implement online voter registration. It requires states to accept the federal registration form electronically and preempts the state registration laws on signatures. So a person, again, can go online, register to vote, and vote without an ID, and it preempts all state laws. Now, here's the deal with that. States have sovereignty, okay? The federal government does not does not run elections. The states run elections. That's why they have Secretary of States. The states run elections, not the federal government. Another reason why I'm running is to get the federal government out of the way of states. And this right here is a big, fat challenge in the middle of the road when we are talking about getting the federal government out of the business of the states and not doing or running bad pieces of legislation such as this. It requires 15 days of early voting of all states, and then regulation of early voting hours and locations of the polling sites. So 15 days early voting in all states. So it's saying that the federal government is actually coming into states to say, you have to allow 15 days of voting. 15 days early voting. You have to. Okay? So this is federalizing elections. This is making the elections turn into a federal issue, not a federal issue, but a federal deal that they're doing. Let me put that up for some folks. I think we're back on. Okay, so that's what that's doing. Okay, let me read the rest of this. There's some more good stuff in here, but it's not good. It's crazy. Okay, we talked about the restoration of rights under Section 5, the Voting Rights Act that requires federal oversights in elections. They're going to be doing that to preempt state laws on challenging ineligible voters. So that's something that you really need to know. It preempts state laws on challenges of people who shouldn't be voting, ineligible voters. Okay, that is something wrong with that. New voter registration reporting requirements by state. New 45-day deadline to mail in ballots to voters with disabilities. New federal crimes and our deceptive practices related to time, manner of in the election. That's not really anything. So also requires all states to vote on paper ballots and require counting of ballots by hand or by optic scan, tabulation. Okay. Now I've talked to a lot of people that think that that's a good idea to vote one day voting on paper and you count. Now I've talked to people that like that. I talked to people who don't like it. In HR 1, it is clearly in there. In HR 1 requires states to count provisional ballots cast outside the precinct, requires every state to implement no excuse vote by mail with signatures and comparison. So that means you don't have to do that anymore. They don't have to compare signatures because you can't even challenge it anyway because the federal government says you can't challenge it. Okay. Also, makes election day a federal holiday. requires colleges and universities to serve as voter registration agencies. Now, why do you think that they're letting colleges and universities do this? I shouldn't have to tell you the answer to that, but you gotta look at a lot of the colleges and universities around our country are run by liberals, are run by folks that are radical, that want to do away with the laws that we have with voting right now, that want to do away with such laws as Second Amendment, and so they are going to that place. They're going to colleges and universities to get the most liberal person to register to vote. Now, a couple of years ago, when I went to not ASU, NAU to give a speech, it was during election time, and there were folks out there getting registering people to vote. Now, they're already doing that. However, those folks who you can't put, like, if you can't put Democrat or Republican, you can't do that. But if you walk up to a table and it's a blue tablecloth, they're wearing blue T-shirts, and they're asking you to register to vote, come on, we kind of know what they're wearing blue for. So what they're trying to do is now mandate that all universities and colleges have an agency to be able to register these kids to vote. Okay, so the problem with that I see is that, other than what I said, that's a problem. When these kids come to, for example, say they live in Tucson and they come up to NAU, their home of record is in Tucson. Okay, so they're going to be able to change their voting location to NAU, Flagstaff, which is perfectly legal. The problem is, though, a lot of those folks live in dorms and they leave after 4 years anyway. So they are voting on things like propositions or ballot initiatives for the city, for whatever city they're in, and they are not going to be living in those cities because they're going to go back home or go somewhere else. So I see a lot of problems with that right there when we are talking about that. States requires a reimbursement of UPS and ballot carry. Oh, that's just, don't worry about that. State chief election officials prohibited from taking part in federal political campaigns. Okay. Established a voter hotline and state-based response system. Requires a state to complete federal post-election surveys requested by the Election Assistant Commission. And then requires states to establish independent redistricting commissions for congressional redistricting. We already do that, but the federal government wants to get more involved in that. Requires testing of state voter systems and federal labs 9 months prior to each federal elections. And finally, federal government to establish a cybersecurity standard for all aspects of elections. Those are 30 new federal mandates that are in H.R. 1, House Resolution 1. And some of those things should really catch your attention and should really raise your eyebrow, to include agencies registering 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds to vote. That is what's in H.R. 1. The reason why I'm running for Congress is to stop these types of bills that the liberal Congress, the liberal left, is pushing out. Now, you know, we're a minority in the House, we're a minority in the Senate, and we don't have the executive. So this is going to come out. If they do away with the filibuster, this will come out. So it looks like people are holding strong to not get rid of the filibuster, because this is a bad law, just like the CRT is bad legislation. And we just need, well, first of all, the federal government shouldn't be telling states on how to vote or how to run their elections. Okay, that's number one. Okay, and we can do away with all that mess in there if states are allowed to run their elections how they run their elections. The federal government has no business in federal and state elections and having these folks run our elections and within our states. That's just the wrong answer. That shouldn't happen. And we know that it's just wrong. It's just wrong. So let's see. Let's see. Okay, we got some new folks on. This is a joke. George Taylor says this is a joke. Okay, George, like that. And it's George Taylor says, "So you are a Trump supporter?" Okay, George Taylor, I just want to make something clear to you. It says "Make America Great Again." It doesn't say anything about Trump. It says "Make America Great Again." So make sure you are, you know, being up to speed on that. Okay, so and then we've got I don't even know half these people on there. And a lot of folks just don't like the fact that I'm a conservative. So when we see stuff like that on our channel and stuff like that, and folks see me wearing a "Make America Great" hat, or talking about conservative values, conservative principles, talking about lower taxes, smaller government, being able to start your own business, capitalism, those things, parent choice for school vouchers, so on and so forth. The people that I get attacked by are actually people in the Black community. They actually attack me because I am thinking for myself. And I bet if I was on here talking up the liberal left and what they're doing, their social welfare programs, their handout, $28 trillion in debt, 50 it'll be $50 trillion in debt in 2025. I bet if I was talking, on favor of that, I wouldn't get a lot of this. I wouldn't get a lot of what I get. And the reason why I'm telling you that, if you are a Black conservative in this country, you get attacked more by uh, from blacks than you do anywhere else. For some reason, people in the Black community do not want blacks to be conservative. And then when you stand up and say something, hey, that's wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. I should be able to run my own business without the federal government getting into it. I should be able to send my child to a school that best fits their needs. I should be able to protect myself using, under the Second Amendment, so on and so forth. When you find a Black American that does that, that stands for those principles like I do, then you get attacked. You get attacked. I get attacked for being a conservative. Can you believe that? Attacked from my own community from being a conservative. And I've heard it all. We've heard it all about the name calling and all that. But that's only name calling. So what I would challenge people to do who happen to have their own opinion about when we're talking about this political spectrum, I did not know that I gave you permission to tell me how I vote or who I am as an American. I don't think I gave you permission to define that of me. But if you think you need to, then that's what you do. I am a veteran. I'm a war fighter. I served in the military for 21 years. I'm a state representative in the state of Arizona, and I'm running for Congress. And I'm running for Congress under conservative principles, plain and simple. The reason why I wear the hat, "Make America Great Again," because this applies to our country. We have a country that is being torn apart by people who don't love this country. That is a problem for me, particularly it's coming from someone who has served our country for 21 years in deployment areas such as Iraq and Afghanistan and those places. So when you want to divide and tear our country apart, then I don't like that. That's not a good thing to do. So that's why I am wearing my hat, "Make America Great Again." It doesn't say "Make Trump Great Again." It says "Make America Great Again." This is an American first agenda that we're on. We have to put America first. And when we don't do that, we see the type of issues that we see coming across the border. 6,000 people a day coming across the border, high sex trafficking or human trafficking coming across the border, the drugs that are coming across the border. The cartel has a stranglehold on our borders and running these types of drugs and issues through the border. And I can't stand up for my country and say, you know what, that's going a bit too far to allow that to happen. And now with HR 1, a person can be automatically registered to vote who is an illegal alien. So what I would ask these people that are upset at me for speaking out against the liberal left, the narrative is that if you want to leave your front door open all night and let anybody walk into your home, that's your business. You can do that. However, as a country, we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't. Our borders should be secure. The wall should be built, continue to be built, particularly on border states. I live on a border state in Arizona, and I've been to the border. I've seen the cameras, the photos of the cameras that these folks are taking at night. I see these people that are coming across the border, and they're not coming across for better opportunity. A lot of them are coming across, and they are carrying firearms. They're wearing backpacks. They've got night vision goggles. These folks are not coming over just to come over and get a job. Some of them are coming over to invade the country. Now, this is a deal. There are some good people that are coming across the border. There are. And I am for a person wanting a better life for themselves and their children. But there's a way to do it, and it's the legal way. If the first act you commit in our country when you were crossing over the border is illegal, then the first thing you've done is broken a law in our country. Now, the present administration says we have no border crisis. There is nothing to see here. Just like they said about the elections, there's nothing to see here. But if you go to the border, you will see that there is a major issue, and it's a clear and present danger, not only to Republicans and conservatives, but all Americans, to include Democrats. I will tell you that because that is happening today. People are crossing the border, and they are not staying in border states. They are moving and migrating northward. So if you're okay with leaving your door open at night, and letting anybody walk in, and you get up and they're sitting on your couch, and that's you, okay? And some people say, well, you can't compare that to the border, your house to a border. Yeah, you can. You really can, because if you look at it, we have left the door open at the border, and we are letting people. Well, not we, but the Biden administration are letting people in unchecked. Now, we just are getting over the COVID. And one of the big things for the Democrats and the liberal left was that people need to be checked and people need to be screened and so on and so forth. These people are not being checked or screened. And I don't hear the liberal left yelling about that. And again, we need our administration to go down to the border and make some good decisions to back our Border Patrol, Homeland Security, our sheriff's departments, National Guard. They need to back them at the border. We need to close the border. If people are going to come into this country, they need to come in illegally. If you go to any other country, Vice President Harris says something about, I haven't been to Germany either. But if you do go to Germany, Vice President Harris, you have to go through legally, and you can't stay. You have to leave if your visa expires. But we're the only country in the world that allows people to come in, and we don't check them. That's not realistic. That's not what we should be able to do. People deserve opportunity, but people have to follow the letter of the law. They do that by not breaking the law as soon as they come into the country. That is something that they can't do. And let me see. I got to read this. Okay, Jim Walton says, we do get attached from our own community and people because okay. He says get attacked, but actually I think it means we get attacked by people in our own community. And you're exactly right, Jim. What I would tell you, just keep doing what you do. And they'll call you all kind of names, or we're talking about the border right now. And if you're talking about the border and you say it and you don't say it the way the liberal left wants you to say it, then guess what? They get mad at you. They call you names, Uncle Tom, bootlicker, all that old stuff. They do that, okay? Because they don't think that you should be able to think for yourselves. Okay? So here's the deal. My parents taught me how to think for myself. My mother and father said you need to have a brain between your ears and be able to think and make smart decisions for yourself. And if a person does not agree with your policies, that's one thing. We can disagree on policy. But when you start attacking people, attacking Black Americans for being conservative, for supporting President Trump, just because they don't agree with you, that's wrong. That's just, and then, the left talks about equal opportunity and all that good stuff. But guess what? If you're a Black American and you talk about conservative values, and that's your base, that's your foundation, their heads explode because you don't fit the picture. I don't fit the picture. Jim, you don't fit the picture because you are a conservative. because they don't want us to think for ourselves. I got a good buddy named Dave Marshall. I'm not going to get into business what he says, but he made a comment. We were at an event the other night. He made a comment that he is a free thinking person. He thinks for himself. We don't need the federal government to think for us. We don't need a political party to think for us. What we need, first of all, we got to put God back in our life and think for ourselves. That is what needs to happen, ladies and gentlemen. If a person has a different opinion because of policy, that's one thing, but you should not attack a person simply because they have a different ideology of you. And that means these folks that are also tearing down statues, rioting in the streets, Antifa beating up people. I mean, come on. I mean, really? This is where we have come to. Now, this is my question to some of those folks that have beat me up about being a Black conservative. If you are so concerned about the Black community and Black and brown, if you're so concerned about that from some of your comments, I would ask you, or I would challenge you to go and do your homework and find out how many Black babies are aborted every single day, because I don't see any comment about the 1,100 Black babies that are aborted from a program that the left supports, which is Planned Parenthood. I don't see any of that there. So a guy wears a hat that says "Make America Great Again." That's your priority, rather than your priority is to Planned Parenthood stop killing Black kids. Your priority is my hat, and not the amount of Black children that are being aborted every single day. And that's not abortion, that is genocide. And if you don't think that that is really happening, you need to do your homework. So let's talk about something that we can help the community with. We can help our overall communities with. The Black community needs that type of, we need to get involved in that. And so, if I am, Republican, which I am, and I go into the Black community and I say, hey, listen, let's stop killing all these kids, these unborn kids. Let's stop doing that. Are you going to tell me that you're for killing Black kids? You're telling me that you are for the abortion rates in Black communities? You're okay with that? Or did you miss the bus? Or is that okay? Because it isn't okay. So let's concentrate on something that we can do together. We don't have to agree on policy, like I said, but there is one thing we should be agreeing on, that there is genocide being committed against the Black community with Planned Parenthood. It's genocide. We have lost a lot of Black people because of abortions. And that's just one of the many things in the Black community that we need to be looking at. So don't worry about what hat I'm wearing. Let's talk about how we can stop the abortion rate in Black communities so 1,100 Black babies are not being aborted every single day. And after we solve that, then let's come back. You can talk about my hat. I think that might be a better conversation. All right, so where are we at right now? We got about 2 minutes left, and we have some questions we're going to go through. If you have a question, please put it in the question bar. I'll answer your question. If your question is an attack or an insult, you're not going to get any airtime. I'm just going to boot you off, because I'm not going to entertain that. But if you have a question or you have ideals or suggestions on how we can go forward, not just as a Black community, but as Americans, how we can go forward to keep our country on track, put them in the questions box, and I will go through some of the questions. Let's see. Well, I'm not even going to mess with you because you are more interested in my hat than you are helping the Black community. Okay, so Kathy Meyer says, yes, Trump hates blonde. Yeah, okay. Okay. Let's see. YouTube genocide on. Okay, yeah. 21 is, they got a YouTube genocide on the Black community. Thanks, Mr. and Mrs. Hart, for doing that. He says, tell the truth, Walt Blackman. And let's see, that is the truth. Okay, I'll be saying that. And then we need to close Planned Parenthood centers. Well, we need to do that. Okay. And yes, I appreciate you, Ms. Hart, by saying, yeah, Because that's what we're doing. And all you got, it's easy to look. It's easy to look up. You can look that up very easy. Look at the numbers of black babies that have abortions. Not black babies that have abortions, but black babies who have been aborted. You can look at those numbers. Those numbers are there. They are. Department of Health has those numbers. Even your own states or cities or towns have those numbers. Those numbers are real numbers. Black babies are being aborted at an alarming rate, and no one is talking about that. But we got people that are upset that black folks are conservative. So how about we do this? Let black people that are conservatives, that love this country, that want to save our prosperity, that want to help our communities, why don't you let us step in and do it, and we will show you opportunity and growth where a person does it on their own, without government handouts, without giveaways. We will show you that a person is worth more than the dollar amount that the federal government places on them. And that's for all Americans who happen to be in that situation where they are receiving some type of services, welfare services, or government handouts. Okay? Let people create businesses, create jobs, create growth. Let people do that instead of just, here's another check. Here's another check. Now, there's some people that need it. But welfare was not designed to be something that turns into a generational problem. Welfare was designed to help somebody when they were down, and when they got up, they got back on their feet, they were able to continue on with their dreams, with their hopes, and fulfilling their dreams of doing something really good in their lives and taking care of their families. Welfare was not designed, or government handouts were not designed for a long-term process as we see it right now. So there it is. Oh, we are at 31 minutes and it is time to go. Now, I'm hoping this stays on the Facebook, because I'm doing it again, because my last one, I don't know what happened to it. But we're hoping this stays on Facebook. I'm Walt Blackman, running for Congressional District 1 in northeastern Arizona. A veteran, 21 years, deployed to Afghanistan, Iraq, fought for the country, fought for our freedom, fought for our Constitution and our flag. I will continue. I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to voice my opinion. I'm going to continue to push the narrative that we can do whatever we want to, because we have the opportunities to do it. And a lack of opportunity does not mean you stop trying. I'm Walt Blackman. Have a great rest of the week, and God bless you all. Thanks for your questions, and I will see you either on the campaign trail, or I'll see you somewhere on Facebook. Take care. God bless.